Okay, so the Eisenhower matrix is basically a model or a framework on how you can decide whether you can and prioritize your tasks and decide whether to do it now or later or to delegate. If your task is urgent and important. So an example of that would be like a deliverable that is important or critical for project deliverable, for example.
Yeah, there is a very important customer issue where the customer wants to release their software and then they're using your product in order to go live. There's a bug in the last minute and they need us to actually resolve it which will actually affect them going to market at a certain time and working against their competitors. That's an example of some urgent case scenario. I think people struggle a lot with tasks such as a website update. Well, how many customers are actually scanning the website for a document? And occasionally there might be some urgency to that, but there are many times that there aren't any urgencies and we have this facade of an urgency and they may not even be that important. So I think those are some gray areas where once you start asking deeper level questions, you either identify is it urgent or not urgent, important or not important. So those are some gray areas there.
I think the framework really makes you think about those gray areas because by default, we sort of categorize some of the non-important stuff and focus on non-important stuff, or we just let some of just completely roll by. So it really forces you to think and categorize the gray area tasks that you have. Yeah, and I think another thing that's important about the important and non-urgent tasks is, like I said, you have to schedule it and keeping a to-do list that is accessible to you wherever you are so that you can manage it, and then translating that to your calendar. That key step is important. Scheduling and time boxing really helps with tasks like this because if it's not urgent, you're not going to be motivated to do it, and so time boxing helps for that. And I think with time boxing, another tool that helps with that is the Pomodoro technique. So work 25 minutes and then take a break, so that'll make you more productive overall.
There are 4 quadrants, right, for the Eisenhower matrix?
The third quadrant is what we're going to work on.
Okay.
That is not important but urgent. So it's something that you can delegate, basically. So an example would be if you're an executive level, like answering emails or scheduling, calls. It's important. You want to set up the meetings with your clients, but you don't have to do that. You can have somebody do that if you can. So I think understanding what you can delegate based on where you are on the corporate ladder, that's very important, and utilize that. I think a lot of times we just want to do everything ourselves and then we overwhelm ourselves. So that's important to know what you can and cannot delegate.
I think that's so profound, right? Knowing what you can or cannot do, and even asking for help, delegate in this case. What would be some examples for engineers? What would be something that is urgent but not necessarily important?
Simple tasks like getting the office party together.
Right.
It's urgent. You have to do it, but it's not important, right? So you can, as a manager, you can delegate that to them. That's one thing. That's one thing that often comes up, like managing or organizing corporate events and things like that. It's important, but it's not urgent.
It's not bottom line.
Yeah, it doesn't affect your bottom line really, but it's an important task. You do want to create the company outings and all. If you're not at a level where you're a manager, you might look to other teams who are doing similar work and work on some cross-team collaboration.
That's a fabulous example. I think what you're saying is if there's redundancy,
yes,
especially when there's redundancy, there's an opportunity for asking for help, especially if it is outside of your team, if they're already doing the work, to satisfy that urgency, and then you reserve your time and bandwidth in the present for more important things. So there's respect that's given, but we're just being smart about how we work, is what I interpret that as. I think that was a great example.
And similarly, the education team would use a lot of the material that support and development would create, and they would repurpose that for education. So they would delegate their stuff to us too. So
right, it's just optimizing everyone's time and expertise.
Absolutely. I think we're always looking for ways to streamline.
Yeah, and I think for all of it to function properly, very different topic is communication and how we interact with each other. And I think that's a very good topic to talk at a different time. That was Quadrant 3.
So now we're on Quadrant 4. So we were right here with delegate, and now we're going to move over to delete. So delete is basically not important, and also not important and not urgent. So these are the tasks which you want to eliminate. So this is again with the streamlining, but instead of delegating it to another team or another individual, you would want to delete the task. The sort of thing that we do in team meetings where there's that one person who's constantly questioning, why do we need to do this? Why do we need to do this? I'm trying to think of like a concrete thing which we deleted. Again, this is an example from support, just because it's such a process-oriented job role. Like we used to use a software, and within that software, there were so many drop-downs we had to fill in. And as a new employee, I was questioning each and every one, like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And a veteran employee would then tell me, I don't know, but we just do it. So I started documenting all those things which were, I don't know, but we still do it. And then I took that over to management and said, okay, these are the things that we don't really know why we're doing it. So maybe we need to revise the software, because I'm clicking that every time and it doesn't make sense. It's wasting my time, right? If we don't even know, it's not really giving us any value add. So it doesn't make sense anymore. So those are the sort of, that's a good example of something.
The way I would calculate that is, say you do that drop down that adds no value, and you do that say 3 times a day, and then there are 10 of you doing it. So that is a drop down that's being accessed 30 times a day. And if that happens across a week 5 times, that's 150. And then month, it quickly adds up. Productivity savings can be massive by making these small changes.
Yes.
That is something that you uncovered, and that was there's always a dollar that you can add to that. So if you actually do it takes minutes, and you know how many times it's done, you can multiply that and you can calculate the hours and average salary of someone who's paid by the hour. You get a dollar amount as to how much it's costing the company very quickly.
Yep.
And you can leverage that in order to pay for a software upgrade. So if, for example, if you do the math and that turns out to be say $5,000 and the software upgrade is $4,000, that's a no-brainer to pay $4,000 for that software upgrade. We were able to talk about what is important, what's urgent, and with coming up with these examples provides a new dimension as to questioning it, and then going deeper, and then adding business acumen and technical acumen on top of that, which we're good at. But I think the structured process opens up a lot more variety of how we run businesses and operate teams.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, it improves your overall efficiency. I think it gives you a framework to think about your everyday tasks. It improves your efficiency, and it will improve your career overall because of the efficiency of it.